Hello, dear friends. Have you ever sat down to work, opened up your computer, then you pulled out your phone, and you were just going to look at it for only a second? 20 minutes later, you still have not started your work. Or maybe you walked into a room recently and you forgot why you entered that room. Or maybe you're struggling with reading. I mean, you're literally rereading the same section over and over again. If this sounds familiar to you, you're not lazy, you're not lacking discipline, and you're not alone. Your attention might be getting hijacked. And in today's world, there are so many reasons why. The truth is that focus is not just about willpower or trying harder. It's actually a reflection of brain health, body balance, the environment, and our nervous system resilience. Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah for those who are new. I'm a naturopathic and functional medicine doctor that's been in clinical practice for almost 20 years. I specialize in brain health, women's health, and gut health, and how mind body practices and the use of essential oils synergize with integrative medicine. So, today I want to walk you through 8 common reasons why your attention gets disrupted and what to consider if you want to support your cognition and get at it at the root cause level. So, when we look a little bit deeper, the picture often becomes a lot clearer. So, before we get to the 8 causes, there is one modern factor that is common for everyone today, and it's one of the biggest attention hijackers. I've already alluded to it in the beginning. It's digital distraction. Our brains were not designed for what we're up against today. We get nonstop notifications. We're lured into endless scrolling on our favorite social media platform. We are getting constant stimulation, and we're trying to switch tasks all of the time between the stimulation that we're seeing from the outside world, from our devices, and the work that we're trying to accomplish. Every ping, every alert, every vibration, every open tab is pulling our attention away from what we're trying to focus on. And over time, this constant task switching on the brave teaches our brain to crave novelty and resist sustained focus. So, in other words, we are actually getting conditioned to be distracted. So, sometimes the first step isn't even digging more into why we can't focus. It's looking at what we have to remove. It's looking into the unnecessary inputs. So, for a lot of us, that means turning off our devices and literally turning out the distractions. Okay, but for many people, that's a great first step. It's often not enough. So now that I have your full attention and you're thoroughly focused on me, let's walk through some of the other reasons or combined reasons why many people are struggling with focus today. So the number one reason I think that is most common is people are in a constant state of stress and overwhelm. And when the body is in chronic stress, the nervous system shifts from restoration and resiliency to survival mode. So instead of supporting creativity, focus, and clarity, the brain is prioritizing protection. So this means that your mental energy is getting redirected into survival. You can feel wired and tired, but restless and unfocused, or busy but unable to complete tasks. Stress chemistry actually affects our memory. Cortisol actually influences our hippocampus or the memory center of the brain. This affects our decision making, our emotional regulation, and of course, our attention. So if focus feels harder during stressful periods, it's not surprising. The body is doing what it is designed to do under pressure. And that's why some of our stress relieving practices are so important. Number two, a lot of people probably can relate to as well, is lack of sleep. Sleep is not passive rest. It's not optional. It's actually active brain health maintenance. And during sleep, the brain processes memory, restores energy systems, and resets attention pathways. So when sleep is poor, fragmented, or insufficient, cognitive function can decline. So can emotional regulation the next day. People try to override this with caffeine or willpower, but biology always wins, and focus will struggle if we don't get the rest we need. So, one of the first questions I ask when people can't focus is, besides digital distraction and stress, is are they sleeping? And of course, we don't want to stress over if we're not sleeping. So we might want to need to use our stress tools first so that we can get our bodies to rest. Number three is attention regulation differences, specifically people who are diagnosed with ADHD or ADD. Some individuals actually have genuine differences in their executive functioning in their brain and their attention regulation. This can affect their organization, task initiation, working memory, and sustained focus. It's not a character flaw. It's not a personality defect. It's not something solved by forcing yourself to focus harder. Many people with ADHD are actually highly intelligent, they're creative, but they need different systems, different structure, and different supports. And importantly, these attention systems often overlap with some of the things we already discussed, such as stress and sleep issues, but also things we're going to discuss a little bit later, like hormone, nutrition, and inflammation. So context always matters. And we also have to remember that someone with an ADHD brain, when we tell them to try harder, if there's a part of their brain that's already overworked, it actually makes things worse. Number four is hormones and brain chemistry. Now, a lot of times because our stress hormones are high, our sex hormones are actually lower than optimal for our brain function. And hormones are messengers, and the brain is constantly listening to them. So when thyroid function is low, when cortisol rhythms are disrupted, when insulin or blood sugar regulation, the hormone for blood sugar, is unstable, and our sex hormone shift, cognition can change. We actually have estrogen receptors in the brain, which is why a lot of time women in perimenopause or when their hormones are shifting can experience things like brain fog, low motivation, poor memory, mental fatigue, and difficulty focusing. This is also true for low thyroid and low testosterone as well. So if focus has changed, hormone balance is worth considering and remembering that the brain issue could be a signaling issue as well. Also, it's important to remember that hormones influence neurotransmitters. So estrogen will affect serotonin and thyroid will affect dopamine, which is your focus. Number five, gut-brain imbalances. So we do have a second brain in our gut, and the gut and brain are in constant communication. So things such as systemic inflammation, food reactions, poor digestion, microbiome imbalance, constipation, immune activation, these can all influence mental clarity. And many people think that digestion and cognition are distinct entities, right? But everything is connected. And if you follow the health sphere and wellness sphere for a while, many people do know that what goes on in our guts can affect our brain. So you absolutely can experiencing brain symptoms that originate in your gut, and it can be more than mood, it can be cognition issues. So we want to look at digestion, nourishment, and inflammation as factors here for how the gut is communicating to the brain. So sometimes supporting focus starts in the gut. Number six is not giving the brain what it needs. So the brain is a metabolically expensive tissue or organ. It requires steady energy. It requires amino acids, healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, oxygen, hydration, and stable blood sugar. But many people are running on skipped meals. They may be overdoing the trend of intermittent fasting. Maybe they're relying on processed foods that lack the nutrients that their body needs. They may be sipping excess caffeine instead of water. They might not be getting enough protein. They may have not enough minerals, or maybe they're experiencing ups and downs in their blood sugar crashes. So all of these factors can cause inconsistent focus, and the brain can't optimally function when it doesn't have fuel. And movement is fuel. It actually helps circulation to the brain and creates brain signals. So these foundational supports of what we're giving our body as far as nourishment and how we're moving our body are important for our focus. Number seven are medications and toxins. So outside influences that our body has to put through extra work through our liver to process. Certain medications actually are known to affect alertness, memory, motivation, and attention. So you want to check with your doctor if your focus issues came up recently on a new medication. Environmental exposures, toxins, these can cause systemic inflammation and burden the brain and also cause some focus issues. Things such as alcohol we want to consider as well. These are stressors that impact our cognition. So if focus has changed suddenly and you've gone to a new environment or you started a new medication, again, look what changed around the same time. Finally, we have something related not to a biochemical issue, but sometimes it's related to a mental issue, specifically lack of clear priorities and acceptance or even planning, right? People can get mental overload from indecision, resistance, or lack of clarity. And when priorities are unclear, the brain goes into loops. It ruminates, it scatters energy across too many directions, and nothing feels fully complete. But when clarity returns, focus often improves. So, some of the things that we can do to help us with our priorities are ask yourself what matters the most right now, what is urgent versus important, and what is important versus urgent. What can I accept? What can I release? Can I take off of my to do list for today? What is the next right step? Okay, so these are the 8 causes. We have to remember that focus problems are not just one thing. They're not just random, they're signals. And we have to dig deeper into the body and how it's responding to internal and external demands. But we're not done yet because there's something even deeper and underneath all of this that may get overlooked. And that's the nervous system itself. So we talked about stress, but attention is a nervous system state. And what regulates this state very powerfully and our nervous system is connection. Remember, we talked about that digital distraction? One of the things that's pulling us away from is social connection. Positive relationships, emotional support, and connection helps our nervous system feel safe. It supports higher brain function so we get out of survival and can have better focus, memory, and cognitive flexibility. When we're in chronic stress, disconnection, or isolation, the body remains activated. The nervous system, again, is on high alert. And in that state, we're looking, how do we get through this versus how can we pursue our passion with this? So we want to look at, this is not a psychological weakness. This is physiology that we need connection. We can't do things on our own. One of my mentors, Robert Holden, calls this dysfunctional independence. So we have to remember that attention is not cognitive alone. It's deeply interconnected with our emotions and with our physiological states and different factors in our environment. So here are the 8 main reasons attention can get disrupted again as a review on top of the digital distraction. We have stress and overwhelm, lack of sleep, attention regulation differences, specifically ADHD, ADHD, hormonal imbalances, gut issues, not giving the brain what it needs, proper nourishment, movement, and making sure our blood sugar is stable. Medications and toxins, lack of priorities and acceptance to what is. And underneath all of this is nervous system and our need for safety and connection. So here's your key takeaway. Focus is not a fixed trait. It's a reflection of your internal and external environment. And when you identify what is driving the disruption, you can begin to support your body more effectively. So I hope this gives you clarity and reassurance that there are real reasons behind focus can be a challenge, and to look a little bit deeper than that it's just a brain issue or a willpower issue. If you resonated with this, you can explore the full article with a lot more details and additional brain health resources below in the video description. And you can access additional tools and resources, including my guides on nutrition, movement, mindset, nervous system support, and evidence-based oil education by visiting my website and subscribing to my newsletter and this channel. Finally, if you found this information helpful, I truly appreciate you sharing it with someone who may need it. It means more than you'll know. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.